Hi everyone, welcome back to My Service Dog and Me. I'm Kate, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between socialization and public access and how they work together, but are still really, in my opinion, sort of two separate things. Not so much that they're two separate things, but they require different goals when we go out away from our homes to train our dogs, especially young ones. So let's get started with socialization, right? So, what is socialization? This is my favorite definition. Socialization is the acquisition of cultural habits and social communication that equip an individual to live in society. So, this is by Laura Van Ardenach-Baugh. It's in her book Savvy, Civil, and Social, I believe is what it's called. It's about puppy socialization, and it is a great book. It is my favorite book on the topic. For more information on like what socialization is exactly, see our socialization playlist because there are some huge misconceptions about what socialization is and what it's not and how to do it appropriately. So if you do have a puppy and you're really focusing on socialization, make sure you hit that playlist up. Okay, so this is my favorite definition though. Cultural habits, social communication that equip an individual to live in society. So, what we're really trying to do when we talk about socialization is give our puppies the skills that they need to live in the family unit and situation and job that we are raising them for. So, service work. And that's going to involve skills for at home and skills for out in public. And so, this is all a part of socialization. So, socialization for me really is about building confidence, optimism, and trust in new places and things because we're never going to be able to introduce our puppies to everything that they might come across out in public. So, really, our best bet is to just teach them that new things are good and we want them to be confident and optimistic with new places and new things. This is also about building social skills with other people and dogs. This, though, includes interacting with them and calmly ignoring them. So, one of the things that we get questions about a lot, and we have talked about in our Let's Talk Service Dog live stream, which you can find all those replays in our Facebook group, Train Your Service Dog with Confidence, is that socialization isn't just about teaching our puppies to be social with people and other dogs. Yes, we want our service dog puppies to be social, to have good social skills and cues so that they can interact appropriately with people and dogs. But service work requires them to also be able to ignore those people and those other dogs. So we don't want to spend all of our socialization time working on interacting and playing and getting attention from other people and other dogs. That does not set us up for good public access, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Socialization is also about the ability to be calm and do nothing and take food, focus, and train in those new environments and situations. So, socialization, while we want to introduce our puppy to a lot of new experiences and places and things and situations, and maybe I said that, we want to teach them two things while we're in those places. One is how to be calm and just do nothing. And second is how to actually work with us in those environments, how to train, how to focus, to take food in those places. And when we're working on socialization, that's a piece of it for me, is this balance of sometimes we go somewhere new and we just hang out. And sometimes we go somewhere new and I need you to focus on me. This is also something where we're going to make sure that there is time for exploration of novel things and places. So when I'm doing socialization with a dog of any age, again, check out our playlist because socialization is not just about puppies. Setting aside specific time for my puppy to be able to explore this area, smell, do things like that is very important to me. That I have set up the correct cues, I have chosen the correct environment where my puppy can walk around and he can sniff. Now, if we're in a really safe dog place, like a friend's fenced in backyard, I may allow my puppy to do that off leash. But if we're not in a fenced in place, I'm going to do this on a leash, probably a harness. This is something I've talked about before, and we go very in depth in our foundations course, in our polite walking mini course within that foundations course, about how to teach our puppies and our dogs how to walk politely and also have that freedom that allows them to sniff and move freely and explore in a way that does not sabotage our healing training. So this is what this looks like. We're going to go new places where I know that the dog can be successful. So I'm not going to choose environments that are too busy or too smelly or too scary or too exciting or too much of anything. I want to choose a location where my puppy is very likely to be comfortable, very likely to be comfortable enough to explore, very likely be comfortable enough to take food from me. So I'm going to choose my locations carefully. I'm going to start with very quiet locations, like an empty park, and move my way up from there. This also, again, looks like balancing training with freedom of movement, exploring, and sniffing. We're also sticking to dog-friendly places, and so this can overlap with stage 1 and 2 of public access training, which we're going to get to here in a minute. Because socialization needs to take place in pet-friendly places so that we can have that ability for the dog to sniff and explore some. And this also is generally keeping things pretty casual. So when I'm going out for a socialization outing with a puppy or a dog or an older dog, I'm really going to keep things fairly casual. Like, yeah, we're probably going to do some training because we're working on good habits. We're working on learning to focus and things like that. But we're also going to have a lot of casual time where my puppy can just observe and explore and things like that. So then let's talk about what public access training is. And here we'll get to those 4 stages I mentioned here in a moment. So public access training is an advanced type of training, right? So this is where we're teaching your dog the skills and behaviors to be safe, unobtrusive, and responsive in public locations that do not allow pet dogs. And a quick note here is that you need to check the laws in your area because depending on where you live in the world, the laws pertaining to service dogs and service dogs in training vary drastically. So, between countries, there are huge variations in the service dog training laws. And even within the United States, varying states have different laws that govern dogs that are in training. So, our federal laws talk about service dogs, not service dogs in training. So you need to look up what the laws are regarding dogs in training where you live before you begin public access training. Now, teaching, let's go through this definition a little bit here. So first of all, I consider this to be an advanced form of training. So this is not something that we're going to be doing with a dog that doesn't have some skills, okay? But the point of public access is to teach the dog to be safe, unobtrusive, so they aren't bothering the public, they are taking up as little space as possible, they aren't bothering the merchandise, they're not barking, they're not drawing attention to themselves, and also responsive in public locations so that they can, listen to you like they're supposed to. And this is specifically training for areas that do not allow pet dogs. So this looks like a systematic introduction and advancement of public access locations and duration. So one of the biggest mistakes that we see, probably the biggest mistake that we see with owner trainers, is just putting the vest on the puppy and just starting to take it everywhere because the puppy needs socialization and public access training. And depending on the state that they're in, they're legally allowed to go places. Again, not every state, but in some states. And really, though, public access is something that needs to be introduced systematically. It needs to be introduced methodically. We need to slowly increase the difficulty level of the location and the duration in which the dog is out in public. The fastest way to mess up your service dog in training is to just start bringing them everywhere. And you will at some point be put in a situation where you have to choose between your dog's training and what you need to get done in public. So if you're at a doctor's office and your 6-month-old puppy starts to act up, are you going to leave? Because if you're not going to leave, you're going to sabotage your dog's training in that moment. But if you leave, you're going to be missing out on your doctor appointment. So, for example, and I've used this example before, there's a specialist I see her once every 6 months. And if you miss the appointment, it takes weeks, if not months and months, to get in with her again. I do not bring dogs in training to these appointments. These are like graduation appointments for these dogs. Because if I leave, it's going to take me months to get back in with her. But if I don't leave, I'm going to sabotage the dog's training. And that is not a good position to be in. Now, this also looks like making sure your dog actually has the prerequisite skills necessary for public access work. So, in my opinion, Dogs who cannot pass a CGC or equivalent in another country or are not working with an in-person service dog trainer, those dogs should not be in public places yet. They should be sticking to pet-friendly locations. Because if your dog can't pass a CGC, so he can't walk politely past other people, he can't walk politely past other dogs, he's not friendly with people, he doesn't have basic obedience like the ability to do a sit-stay, he really isn't ready for public access. Okay? He's just really not. You need to be doing a lot of training in pet-friendly environments first to get ready for public access training. This also looks like giving your dog 100% of your attention 100% of the time that you're out in training. So when we are working with a novice dog and we are taking them out into public specifically to teach them how to be in public, that requires 100% of the trainer's attention. 100%. If you're going out for real errands or going to the doctor or going to an appointment or going to the movie or whatever it is that you're doing, at some point, you're not giving your dog 100% of your attention, which means you're not training. So depending on where your dog is, if your dog is brand new to public access, he needs 100% of your focus when you're out in public. And as he becomes more advanced, he won't need that. This also looks like maintaining high behavioral standards. So again, this is why I feel very strongly that dogs need to have a certain level of skill before we bring them out into public access, which is places that are not open to pet dogs, because we need to be maintaining a high standard for behavior. We need to be maintaining and working on really solid heeling, not barking, not sniffing merchandise, not looking for attention from other people. If we're still problem solving those things, our dog really isn't that ready for public access, and we need to be doing more work in pet-friendly places. Which brings me to the 4 stages of public access, in my opinion. First are pet-friendly outdoor places, parking lots, parks, etc. Pet-friendly indoor places. These are places like Tractor Supply is pet-friendly, right? So I can bring a pet dog into Tractor Supply. Then we have non-pet friendly indoor places. And so this is where we get Target, Walmart, the mall. And then finally, we have places that serve food or that you cannot leave at a moment's notice, because those are very advanced places. Now, we actually have a whole PDF that walks you through these 4 stages and gives you the prerequisites, like gives you a legitimate checklist that you can work on and work through to see if your dog is ready for each stage. The link to that is going to be below, so you can find that in our ebook, our free ebook library, and the whole thing is right there for you to find. So here's what this looks like. This looks like not taking your dog everywhere you go and training public access specific behaviors, tuck, under, etc. This also looks like advanced heeling training, advanced advanced obedience training. This looks like practicing your tasks out in public places. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about public access. When we're doing public access training, is there socialization happening? Yes. It is not the goal of the session. So the overlap between these two things is that good socialization becomes the solid foundation for public access training. And socialization will continue into your public access training. However, I find, especially for the person, for the human end of the leash, to successfully work their dog through socialization, it is important in the beginning that you understand the difference here and you go out with separate intentions for your training session. So, as far as your dog is concerned, is there overlap? Absolutely. Socialization is going to happen while you're doing your public access training, and while you're doing socialization outings, your dog is gaining necessary skills for public access. However, I have found that for most handlers, going out of their home with the intention to either do public access training if their dog is ready or socialization, and keeping those two things separate in their head is what creates success for the handler and for the dog. So if you have any questions about this stuff, the best place to ask them is in our free Facebook group, Train Your Service Dog with Confidence. You can get our public access readiness ebook in our ebook library. The link to that is below. And again, we go in depth in this stuff in our online courses about like how to do socialization, keep those things separate for the dog. And then of course our academy is where we hit the public access training. And we do that very specifically because again, I don't think that dogs should be going out into public access training until they have a certain level of foundation and basic training. All right, so that is it for today. Hit up our training, or excuse me, hit up our Facebook group if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.